everybody. Welcome to the Fumble Live. Happy Tuesday. I'm Devin Howard. You can find me on Instagram as @DevinHoward. Jackie?
You can find me everywhere on social media at JRayTheFanatic.
Actually, I'm Britt Johnson. You guys can follow
there we go.
me on social media at I am Britt Johnson. Chris is gone again, so this is going to be a great show, guys.
I know, the ladies got it again.
So Chris is having some technical issues back at home. It happens. We're working from home. We're doing our best here. We miss him, but I'm glad to be co-hosting with just my Fumble gals. So it'll be a good day. Hope you're ready. Let's get into our first news story, guys. We mentioned this at the top of our live show yesterday, but we really didn't go into a whole lot of detail, so we're going to do that now. So yesterday, Jermaine Jackson revealed that all three of the Ball brothers signed with Roc Nation Sports, which is Jay-Z's company. He said it was, quote, a family decision. They put together a beautiful game plan with Jay-Z. The basketball game is about to change. They're going to create something totally new. Roc Nation's first focus is going to be securing a shoe deal for LaMelo. We haven't heard who he's going to go with, but it doesn't appear it's going to be the reincarnated Big Baller brand, but we'll have to see. So my question for you, Britt, I'm going to start with you. Do you think this was a good move for the Ball brothers?
Sure. I mean, why not? Like, I know they were debating going with Clutch Sports as well, which is actually more popular, more known. They have a ton more athletes or whatever. Roc Nation, I'm down for it. I think it's a good thing. Obviously, I think it was a package deal with all of them because they included LiAngelo too, who's going to be in the G League or whatever this upcoming season. So I think it's a good move. I'm excited to see what they have going. Obviously, like Chris has been saying with his conspiracies and stuff, which actually I think is very conspiracies probably coming true, is Roc Nation's deal with Puma and possibly doing the deal with LaMelo and stuff like that. So it's all going to come full circle, and it's good to have it all under one umbrella. So you're not just like having a deal here and then something over there. Just to have like an all-encompassing thing, I think will be good for especially LaMelo, who's going to be this young guy coming into the league. And I think it'll work well, and then having his big brothers with him, I think it's a perfect, storm, which will probably be good. I mean, you never know. It could end up being terrible, but I think it'll be good.
That was actually going to be a question that I had for you guys, was whether or not this is a package deal. Because I could see Roc Nation saying, we want to sign LaMelo and we want to sign Lonzo, but I'm sure Jermaine and LeVar went into it saying, well, if you're signing those two, you're taking Jello too. So my question for you, Jackie, is what do you think LiAngelo's plan is?
I mean, I'm not sure what LiAngelo's plan is, if I'm being honest, but I definitely think this is a good move. I definitely think it was a package deal. And I think the brothers together are just more marketable, especially when you have three brothers that are potentially all going to be in the league at the same time. And if they ever all play together, it's going to be a marketing dream to have the three brothers on the same team. I would love to go into marketing just for that moment, because it's going to be easy to market. So I think that's probably has something to do with the plan. I know they've always all wanted to play together, and I know that they are more successful together. So I think it's a good look to keep the family together. I'm excited. And I'm excited for Jay-Z because he's making big moves. We know he's consulting with the NFL now, and I think landing the Ball brothers is a big deal. So I'm excited for everybody.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what happens with this. Oh, sorry, Britt, I saw your mouth moving, but I couldn't hear you. So what were you saying?
Just yapping, but I don't hear anything.
Oh yeah, I couldn't hear you either.
But I would like to add, I think with Jello, another option for him, if he doesn't necessarily make it BA, would be to just kind of maybe be the model one for the brand, where you're doing stuff with Puma or different things and doing all the ad deals and sponsorships and stuff like that. Because, I mean, not to be a girl in this space, he's a marketable guy, he's somebody that you could, throw some shoes on or whatever, and he can sell product or whatever. So, and he, I think, is very well spoken as well. So I think even if it's just in the capacity where he is maybe the face of certain things, I think would be a great move as well.
It would also be interesting to see him pursue a different path in sports, like maybe sports management or becoming an agent if he doesn't reach the NBA like he wants to. There's options for him to still create a name for himself and do something impactful with his name and with his career. Let's jump into our next news story all about Zion Williamson. So he credits Drake with making him famous. So back in 2017, when he was still 16 years old and just playing in high school, he was gaining attention for his skills on the court. He was a remarkably explosive player, especially for high school. But when Drake posted a picture of himself that Leo is going to post up there for you guys so you can see it, in a Zion jersey, he suddenly just skyrocketed in popularity. Zion said Drake, quote, posted late at night, and when I woke up in the morning, I had crazy notifications on my phone. For a second, I was like, did something bad happen? So it just was like an overnight success story for him. And he said, quote, whether people know it or not, Drake posted that pic of me wearing my jersey before most of the world knew me. I think that was kind of a start to everything, because after that, I went from number 12 at Spartanburg Day School to Zion. It all happened so fast. So, Britt, do you think that Drake really is the reason that Zion became a household name for basketball fans, or is Zion kind of discrediting himself a little bit here?
I actually remember that moment. Like, I think we did a story on it on the Fumble. So I mean, that is kind of like, if you were a basketball head, obviously a lot of basketball people already knew who Zion was, just from traveling ball and stuff like that and AAU stuff. But for the regular rest of the world, yes, that's how they found out about Zion, was that moment right there. Like, all of us before looked at House of Highlights and would see little clips of Zion just crazy dunking on people that were like 5'4", but everybody else, I think, found out who he was at that moment. So I would agree with that statement. Obviously, at some point, Zion would have became Zion anyway, because we would have seen what he did at Duke, and then we would have seen what he has been in the league so far. But part of his reason, or part of him wearing, something of Zion's also probably cursed Zion with his injuries, because we all know Drake is a curse. So I don't know if that was a good or bad thing, because Zion would have became famous anyway. But the curse of Drake also landed on when he got injured in college and again in the league. So I don't know if that's a good or bad thing that Drake wear anything of yours.
You took my next question. I was going to ask you, Jackie. I was going to ask for you to humor me with this one. Do you think that Drake's endorsement of Zion proves that the curse does exist, or does it prove that it doesn't exist? Because even though Zion had that injury and missed most of the season, he is back and playing better than ever. So where do you stand on the Drake curse issue?
I love Drake, so I'm going to refuse to believe that the man causes curses. I mean, I don't think that. I'm like Britt, I remember this moment vividly, because I was actually on an island called Saipan, and I was over there where, sports over there is not a thing, because it's literally 24 hours ahead. They're in the future right now, so they just don't watch sports over there. So I remember sitting in a bar and everybody was like, oh my God, who, like literally simultaneously, people were like, who is this guy? Who is Zion? So that's a blessing, because you're making his name internationally known. That is not a curse. Stop saying Drake is a curse. That's all I'm going to say.
I mean, Jackie, you gotta look at the facts, okay?
Yeah, we have Jackie, we have receipts for this, okay? There are receipts.
No,
Drake
we don't know
himself when he wore 76ers shorts during the Raptors NBA Finals, or
but what if he hadn't been there
last year?
He could have not been there, and the outcome would have been the same. It's a coincidence. It's not a curse.
No, he wore the Sixers shorts, and then the Raptors won, and he's like, the curse is real. Like, he proved it himself.
Oh, poor Drake. I love you so much, though.
We love the guy, but he's a curse.
Exactly. We love his music, but man, it sucks when he starts supporting your team. So I believe in the Drake curse. I've seen too many coincidental moments for it to not be real. Okay, let's get into our final need to know news story. It's all about Kendrick Perkins. So Kendrick Perkins believes that he should have handled his feud with KD differently. He said, quote, "If I could have handled it in any other way, I would have. I would have took a different approach. I wouldn't have fired back at him." He added, "I wouldn't have responded. I probably should have just took the blow that he delivered and sent him a text that was like, 'Bro, I wasn't coming at you like that,' and just let it be gone, instead of me saying, 'You know what, I'm about to attack you and hit you where it hurt.' And I did shoot some below the belt slugs that I wish I wouldn't have done." So I think this is in reference to that, heated confrontation they had back in January when Kendrick Perkins said that Russell Westbrook was the greatest player in Thunder history, and now he's admitting that he thinks KD is the greatest player to wear a Warriors jersey. So he's like kind of trying to smooth things over. He expressed a little disappointment in who Kevin Durant has turned out to be. He said, "KD is who he is, man. He's grown into the man that he wants to be, and I just have to accept it. It's just a different KD from what I knew when we were in Oklahoma City and he used to be under my wing all the time. So at the end of the day, I just have to accept who the man is and roll with it. That's who he is, and I gotta love him for who he is." So do you guys think that this means their beef is officially done, or is KD holding a grudge? Jackie, can you tell me your thoughts?
I think KD's always going to hold the grudge. I think it's in his DNA to hold grudges. Personally, I highly disagree with Kendrick. I think he handled it. I don't think KD is that guy. I don't think he's the guy that you try to take the high road because he's got burner accounts that is going to piss you off in some way, shape, or form. So I think you give it as good as you get, and if I'm kind of surprised that he's saying this now, but I think KD deserved every piece of that. And I'm wondering if he's trying to smooth this over because KD is who he is and Kendrick is where he is right now, and maybe hope that he can get on the good side of things, perhaps. But nah, I disagree. Fire back at that man every time he says something crazy. That's just me. But I'm petty, so maybe that's not the best, maybe I'm not the best one to ask.
I'm normally the type of person that says, take the high road, don't engage. But in this case, we know how KD is, and we know who he is, and KD is the king of pettiness, so you might as well fight fire with fire there. Britt, I know that you love a feud, so how do you feel about Kendrick kind of trying to squash the drama and cool things down between himself and KD?
Well, like my friend Jackie, I am very petty too. I had a New Year's resolution a couple years ago, and it was to be petty by any means necessary. So I think that explains a lot about myself. But I always talk about, too, I love the hero and the villain role in the league. And, KD's the villain a lot of times, and as it should be. Again, Kendrick, you need to just accept him for who he is and keep it pushing. This whole thing, I literally from the beginning just had in the head our mantra, which is say less. Who cares? He's going to be him, you be him. Both of you guys can be petty. I don't care. Say what you want to say. Don't say what you want to say. But at the end of the day, I think the statement of, yeah, you just do got to let him be him. What are you about to do? Nothing. So why even say that? There's nothing you can do or say or whatever. And again, I love the hero and villain thing. It has to happen in the league. We need that form of entertainment in some way. We need, the underdogs and the people that are so great. And so we need all of that. That's what makes sports great in general. So I'm here for all of it, honestly.
Do you think that Kendrick Perkins really does regret engaging with KD, or do you think that now he's just trying to appear like a good guy in the situation? Britt, you start.
No. I literally just have a one-word answer. No.
Yeah. No. What's there to regret? I said what I said. You know what I mean? And I don't know what kind of, maybe he had a come to Jesus moment that he feels like he needs to, make amends, or I don't know. But no, he doesn't owe anybody an apology, and I don't know. No regrets, man. No.
All right. Well, that wraps up Need to Know News. So since we have Chris not with us today, Britt's doing the post up, right?
No. Yes.
Doing the post.
Don't confuse me like that. You know how bad I messed up post up last time. Don't do this to me. All right. So I'm gonna cover for Chris. So it's post up with your girl Jackie Ray, quarantine edition. All right. So Scott Burrell. Now we know if you saw The Last Dance, which I'm sure all of you did because it was amazing. At the end of episode 4, Michael Jordan went all the way in on him, and Scott was basically begging MJ to stop. He said his mom could see the video eventually, but after watching this documentary, it was his wife, Jeannie Coakley, that everyone was concerned about because, Michael was telling everybody his business and he was a thought back then. So, but luckily the two were not together at that time. And Jeannie really just wanted to learn more about baby Rodman because that's what Michael Jordan compared him to. And then Worldwide Wob tweeted out a list of the biggest L's from Sunday night's Last Dance. And number 4 caught Jeannie's eye. But on Rob's list, number 4 was anytime Scott Burrell told his family he wasn't coming home because he was busy working. Obviously, he wasn't busy working. But Jeannie responded, really? Number 4, a W? In my book, kissing emoji. Can we see that one too? Yeah, so that one, yeah. So I don't know. Do you really think she cares about what he was doing back in the day? Well, when she wasn't even with him? Even if he was a full-blown hoe, would you even care?
Nope.
Right.
I literally don't think she cares at all. And again, they weren't like married at the time, and she probably knew a lot of stuff anyway. And she's just like, listen, that was none of my business. I don't even care. I think what just made it, like, if Michael Jordan said this, like, little clips that he was saying or whatever, like, oh, he alcoholic and he really partying, he does all this kind of stuff. And if he wouldn't have then went and been like, no, don't put that on camera, nobody would have even thought twice about it. But because he just seemed so guilty and he was acting so guilty about it, I think that was like the kicker of it. But again, this was like, I don't know how to count math. It was like 20-something years ago now. 22 years ago now. So it's just like, at this point, he's like, nobody cares what happened 22 years ago. Seriously. And then everyone keeps trying to put it off like Michael Jordan's dry snitching and he's doing all this stuff. No, this was 22 years ago. Nobody cares.
Yep.
People change so much over the course of a few years. I even look back at myself 5 years ago and I feel like a totally different person. So 22 years is a long time to kind of grow as a human being.
Yeah, and I would be surprised if anyone in the 80s wasn't a hoe who was playing ball. So I'm not surprised by this at all.
Or the 90s. I don't know if we're going to be talking about it later, but even like Gabrielle Union said that she was a thought in 98. So, and that was that season.
Because we all knew that, but I'm glad she's just, yes, I'm admitting it. This is my thing,
Yeah.
So,
I heard some stories about Gabby.
I've heard some stories too. I've heard stories upon stories, but that's another story. All right, so next up, we talked about this. I think Britt, you did a stand-up about all of Dennis Rodman's girlfriends, but Toni Braxton is on. Oh, Devin did it. Okay, see, I'm getting them confused. So Devin did a story about all of Dennis Rodman's girlfriends. The list is long, and Toni Braxton is on that list, but she is saying not so fast because she posted this tweet that said, Dennis Rodman was kind of hot in the 90s. I never dated Dennis Rodman. We were at the VMAs, # The Last Dance. Look at this picture. I'm calling BS. I'm not just gonna say, hey, let's get all snuggly and cozy and do this really loving picture if you just a homie.
Yeah.
Well, like they say, homie, lover, friend. They might have not
Friends with
actually
benefit,
dated, right? But something happened that night, at least.
Yeah, Toni lying though. Like, this is one of those times. Say less, because no, nobody's buying this right now.
In that first picture, she looked very concerned. You guys notice that?
Did she look concerned, or did she look like yeah?
I think she looks like scared.
Nobody say what just happened in the limo.
Right. She's like, oh, does my hair look okay? Because yes. All right, so now let's get to Giannis and his son. This is not
highlight, this is sweat.
Right. This is natural glow. So Giannis and his son, Giannis posted a picture with his son with the caption, "We feeling cute, might delete later." Do we have this one? Oh, but then we have this one first where Giannis picked house. I'm trying to go with Leo with the houses he picked. But I think, which house did he pick on this one? Nope. He picked house C. So do y'all see who's in house C? Why would he pick house C? Can Britt explain this to me, please?
I don't know why you would pick House C. I have no idea. Like, I mean, maybe because it has, no offense to the other girls, the cutest girl out of the girls. I don't know. That's the only thing I could think of.
That's the only thing I could think too.
Same.
I don't know. He didn't even pick his own house. Why would you pick House A?
I think I would pick House D personally.
Me too. That's what I would pick for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? The more and more Giannis like does stuff like this, the more and more I like worry about him. I'm like, can someone go check on him, because he's just not very good at decision making. It seems like he doesn't ever pick good options. Like, I really, really worry about him at this time.
Well, as long as he doesn't have to go on any Giannis where he has to pick his team, you know, like Survivor or something like that, we're fine. But then can we?
The last 2 years, he's epically picked terrible all-star teams. So it's like,
he has.
What is wrong with you, Giannis?
I wonder if now he'll do it, like if he gets to pick again, if he'll just pick a bad team because now it's a joke and that's the running thing, like, oh, I'm going to pick the worst team kind of thing. I don't know. But can we post that picture of him and his son again, because it was the cutest thing ever. Oh my God.
I need to see the little face and the little cheeks.
I know.
And the lips.
So cute.
I wonder what he's like as a dad.
I bet he's a lot of fun. You know, I bet he lets his kid win a lot. Once the kid gets older, I bet he'll let him win a lot. I bet he's super cuddly and affectionate, and I bet he's making him bilingual. I think he's probably an awesome dad.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be worried about his decision-making skills in the future. That's all.
Okay, so let's get into this GOAT masterpiece, because this is by far one of the coolest things I've seen in a while. This teacher, who is also very talented, drew this GOAT mural on a whiteboard. I have a whiteboard. My regular handwriting doesn't look that good on my whiteboard, but check out this video of this mural that this artist is doing.
Kobe Bryant from Lower Merion High School in Pennsylvania.
He's the best player in basketball, and I don't think it's even close.
He has some of the best skills that the NBA has ever seen in history.
The Lakers have won back-to-back NBA championships. Kobe Bryant, 20 years in the NBA, 18 All-Stars.
We try to teach the kids with excellence.
That's so awesome. That's so talented. He also did another mural. So the funny part is, the best part of this last video is he broke the hearts of his entire classroom when he erased the Dwayne Wade mural in front of the class, and the reactions are hilarious. You gotta take a look.
This is cruel.
Those poor kids. That's cruel, right? It's like, what?
Like, as an artist, though, like, it's so crazy to think you worked so hard on something, and he's like smiling while he's erasing it. Like, he has no problem. Like, it's no big deal. I can make another thing. Like, how it's so sad that his work is saved. Like, this needs to be in a museum somewhere. Like, just get a bunch of white in a museum. You know, we all have had that whiteboard when we were younger that literally we didn't erase something forever and then it doesn't come off anymore. So he gets a bunch of whiteboards that end up just being permanent at some point, and we do a museum of it. But like, actually, like, I was with the kids in that moment. I was like, no, don't take it away.
Yeah, we'll get you a new whiteboard. Just leave that there. It was so good. Okay, but apparently Aaron Gordon is officially ending the beef. We know he made that video, which I was a big fan of, by the way. I thought the visuals were fantastic. But we talked about this again yesterday, but he's ending the beef because he posted this picture on his IG holding another glass of Wade's wine with a caption saying, "It ain't that deep though, LOL. I'm just having fun expressing myself. Hope everyone is staying safe during these chaotic times. I see you, young OG." The wine was 10 out of 10 at Dwayne Wade Cellars. Thanks, legend. Album on the way. #wine. I love this picture. That's really all I got to say about it.
But I don't like the squashing the beef. What's the point? We were living for the fact that they were like going head to head.
I mean, it can't last forever, right?
Beef. I love beef, and like, I love that piece of beef. Like, Aaron Gordon is
right.
Like, so yummy. So I'm like, no, we need more videos and more whatever so we can see more of that. Like, I'm sorry, but no, the beef is not over yet. But the album on the way, Aaron Gordon, I love you, but I don't know if I want to hear a whole album. You're not Dame Dalla. Don't do it. Mm-hmm. Don't do a whole album, please.
I might not want to hear.
Kobe did an album, and I don't want to hear
it. That was rough. I might not want to listen to a whole album, but if you do a whole visual album, I will watch.
I will watch with the sound off, just like you guys watch my videos.
Yes. Break in the background over the visuals. That's a better idea.
Right.
I have a question for you guys about this. We've now seen Kendrick Perkins trying to squash the beef with KD. We have Aaron Gordon trying to smooth things over. Are people doing this because the state of the world is chaotic right now, so everyone's just wanting to like create peace? I don't know.
No, I think people are at home, lonely. They want someone to talk to. So they're like, let me reach out to my enemy because at least I know we know how to communicate, even if it's bad. But no, it's definitely the Rona that's got people being all in their feelings right now.
Britt, what do you think?
He did this video during quarantine. So like, he's not trying to make world peace. He did the video during the quarantine, but now it's like, it's a different day. And again, like I was saying yesterday, every day is going to be full of different emotions because you're just sitting there thinking. So some days are going to be like, oh man, remember that one time a long time ago when somebody like accidentally stepped on my toe when I was guarding them or whatever. And then the next day you're going to be like, oh, I also remember that one time when we saw each other at the ESPYs and we waved at each other from afar. That was such a magical moment. Everyone's just emotions are all over the place. So I could expect from a week from now, Aaron Gordon's going to feel, again, some type of way about D-Wade. So it's just going to be back and forth. Everybody's going to be doing this the whole entire time because, again, nobody has anything else to do. Everyone's lonely. Aaron Gordon's not married or anything, so it's not like he's like with his wife and kids right now. He's probably just like, I'm lonely. Oh, so lonely.
But I haven't gone through this. I haven't gone through let me reach out to an ex.
Jackie?
It has not, Britt.
You know what, Jackie? Somebody is lying on this show. I'm not going to say who it is.
I have not reached out to an ex. I have not.
Why would you lying? Oh. My gosh.
Look, Britt's out here trying to put me on blast, y'all. I promise there is not an ex that has gotten a text from your girl. I promise.
Has somebody reached out to you, though?
Yes. That's not the same thing, though. It's not me reaching out.
Did you respond?
I did.
See? Here we go.
But I responded with what do you want? First it was, whose number is this? And then it was, what do you want?
I love doing that. When you do know,
even if their name,
like, who's this? Yeah.
That always feels
again petty by any means necessary.
Okay,
absolutely.
But I want to jump back to this because I know, Britt, you're saying that everybody's going through the emotional roller coaster and they're reflecting on the good times and the bad. I would literally rather not talk to anybody for weeks than talk to any scumbag I, encountered in my history. I am not interested. So
I agree.
I don't know.
Devin, I'm going to ask you that again in a month if we're still in quarantine and see if that's changed.
Right.
All right. Do it. I'm sticking to my word on this one.
All right. That's it for post ups. So now it's time for WTF moments. Devin, do you want to take one?
Oh, you betcha. So, okay, let me get right into it. I feel like you guys are going to have a lot of thoughts about this one. So on Instagram Live, Dwayne Wade and Gabby said that they were on some other stuff in 1998. So Gabrielle agreed. She said that she was really enjoying her life in her 20s and, was enjoying the freedom, and she advised Ayesha and Steph to do the same. So she told the young couple, they were, I think, like in their mid-20s at the time, you guys, the likelihood of this working out is very low. You should just break up now and have sex with other people. Dwayne Wade in the IG Live apologized on behalf of the Wade family, but she said that she would still give the same advice, even to this day. It doesn't matter. She thinks that that's how you should be doing your 20s. Obviously, we've seen that Ayesha and Steph are still together, and they at least appear to be doing really well on Instagram and in their interviews that they do. But Britt, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think that Ayesha should have taken her advice?
As somebody who is still single, yes. Like, I think it's like in your 20s, you're just supposed to like live it up, travel, turn up. Are you frozen? But can you hear us?
I think she is too. I can hear you.
Yeah, you are frozen. Oh, you're unfreezing now. But I mean, in your 20s, it's like live it up time, you know? Obviously, different strokes for different folks. Thus far, they have worked out, but again, who knows what's going to happen in the future. As we all know, Kristen Cavallari and Jay Cutler just broke up, and they were literally, I just did a story about them being stuck in the Bahamas for a month at the beginning of the quarantine, and they were posting all this cute stuff like they were the happiest couple, and they're like divorcing now. So like, I don't ever believe what you see on social media because people are good at faking the funk a lot, you know? So I don't necessarily know exactly if their relationship is what they put out to be. Obviously, it's a great business decision to stay married at this time anyway, but you never know. And then I feel like I'm big on living in the moments of your life. So when you're in high school, do high school stuff, go to prom and all that kind of stuff, and school dances, because that's something you'll never get to do again. When you're in college, go to frat parties and all that kind of stuff, because once you get out of college, it looks silly if you go back to do that. So I'm really big on living in stages in your life. And so I think your 20s are for being like crazy and irresponsible and doing all this stuff and traveling with like girlfriends and, you know, having one night stands in Paris. I don't know, like it's to have fun. So I don't know if she is ever going to look back on those moments and wish she did more than she did. That's going to be just something for her to figure out and her to decide. But I think Gabrielle Union was coming. Again, Gabrielle Union was married in 2001 to 2015 to Chris Howard, who was an NFL running back at the time. So she did the married thing, and then she did the single thing for a long time as well. And I think she's probably just speaking from her personal perspective of having so much fun. But then also later on in her life, a couple years ago, we all know she was so depressed and sad because she wasn't able to have kids and all of this kind of stuff until she got her daughter now. But she went through a lot of like, she had miscarriages and all that kind of stuff. So there's like a fine line between like living your life and doing stuff for you before you have kids, and then almost to a point where it's like, it's too late and now I can't have them and now I'm stressed out. So I'm sure in that moment she was in Ayesha's life like, oh, I wish I would have had kids younger and blah, blah, blah. So hindsight's always 20/20. I think in this situation, it's kind of just going to depend on the individual. That's my life lesson for the day.
Yay.
Thank you, Britt. Very inspiring. Jackie, do you think that it's surprising that Gabrielle was giving this advice knowing that she and D. Wade had some trouble with him cheating and having another baby? What do you think? Is it kind of, I think it's a little bizarre, but are you with me on that?
No. I think Gabby has been around enough. I think that's why she was able to forgive Dwayne Wade, because she knows how the game goes. You know what I mean? And so I think someone like me, who's not been out there like that, I wouldn't have been able to forgive that. But she knows how the game goes. She's played the game, and you know, and she can take a step back and look at it from the outside in and kind of be like, okay, I probably was with a dude who might have been in a situation. Maybe he's not in a relationship, but maybe he's in a situation. And we all know that even though they deny it, Dwayne Wade technically was with someone when she got together with him. So, you know, you have to kind of say, even no matter how mad you are, you have to look back and say, okay, karma is a real thing. And I love this man. So, and the advice still is the same, because she's not talking about, oh, look what happened to me. She's talking about, like Britt said, living in the moment and not having regret. I personally have never had a one night stand, but when my girlfriends tell me about their one night, I always get jealous. And I'm always like, damn, I should have at least done that one time, you know, just so I have a story to tell. But now, like Britt said, if I do it now it just looks silly, because now I know better, you know, it's not a thing anymore. But I absolutely, and I've always used to say, my grandmother had a saying though. She said, If you are a virgin and you get married, that's fine. If you get one in, then get a whole bunch in before you get married. Because if you get one in and then you get married, then you're always going to wonder what others would be like. So she's like, test all the waters or don't test them at all. And I totally agree with that sentiment.
I think I love Rob. She's amazing.
I know. She's got some of the best advice that I thought sounded crazy when I was a kid, but now that I'm an adult, I'm like, damn, she was right.
So, advice. What do you want to say just on this story? I feel like go tell.
I did not hear that. Say it again.
I saw Britt's mouth moving and I wanted to hear what she was saying.
Oh.
Oh, I literally just said grandmas always have the best advice. That's the best person you can listen to, especially if your grandma gets tipsy sometimes. Because my grandma, she hit me with some gems, some real gems when she had a glass of wine in her.
Oh, this makes me even more sad about this kind of thing, but my mom super chill, so she's my person. All right, Britt, I'm gonna hand it over to you for our next WTF moment to take it away.
All right, so this second WTF moment is actually going to be a tag team into Britt's takes because that's just what we're doing. Because this WTF was just so intense for me, I gotta continue talking about it. So the WTF moment is Justin Weiser, whatever his name is. Yeah. I don't even know how to say it, and I don't even want to learn it because I don't think he deserves to be talked about very much other than this point. So obviously we all know he was drafted 5th round by the Patriots. He's a kicker or whatever. He was drafted this past weekend, and everyone was talking about his tattoo that he has. And he decided to apologize. I'm going to read the quote of his apology, and then we'll talk about it really quick, and then I'll get into how I really feel about it in Britt's take. But his apology said, as soon as I saw what it was linked to on Saturday, he just found out what his tattoo was about on Saturday. It was exactly that time I knew I had to get it totally taken off my body. I said cover it up to reporters, but I want to get it removed from my body. It's shameful that I had it on there ignorantly. It was described to me as the percentage of colonists that rose up against the government of the British. I was like, wow, that is such an American sentiment, a patriotic sentiment coming from a military family. I thought that really spoke to me. I always want to be proud to be an American, very proud to be an American. So basically his excuse was that he didn't know that it was related to this organization that I'm going to talk about it more in Britt's takes. He basically thought it was a military thing. I just want to ask you guys before I get into Britt's takes, do you guys accept this apology? Do you think he really didn't know what it was? I'll start with you, Jackie.
Absolutely not. Oh, sorry.
Hell no.
Or Devin, go ahead, girl.
Yeah, you go, Devin.
I don't buy this apology at all. I don't think that he's stupid enough to think that it was just a patriotic image, just patriotic sentiment. So I don't buy it. I think that this is horrendous and no respect for him.
Jackie?
Yeah, there's no way, because Google was still a thing, you know what I mean? And I know you knew how to use it at 18, and I know that that's not how it was described to you. And the fact, here's what my thought was on this. He says that, oh, my family and we thought that it was, the 3% of the colonists who fought back against the British. First of all, let's talk. You could look up the colonists. What were the colonists doing in that time? That whole time, colonists were racist too, is what I'm trying to get at. So if your whole family is co-signing on this sentiment, you have to put a gun to my head, and I still would say you're lying to believe that nobody in your family knew what that meant. And then when you kind of add up the other tattoos on his body, he's got the 3% tattoo, he's got liberty or death, he's got a flag over here, and that's beyond patriotic. That's very extreme. And so when you have those kind of symbols on, when you add them up in their totality, you're lying. And then the fake tears, I don't know if you guys could watch his interview, go find his fake tears. He's like, I want to, and my family has to apologize. Nary a tear came out though. good acting. I would love to see him in a movie, but you're lying. That's all.
Yeah. It's shameful.
All right, so I'm just going to go into my take on it, which is going to be Britt's take for today, because this topic really, 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 really pissed me off. I don't know if you guys thought it wasn't going to, but it really did. Another thing that he had said to the New York Times was that obviously it's evolved and does not want to represent. When I look back on it, I should have done way more research before I put any mark or symbol on my body, and it's not something that I ever want to represent. And then I will cover up is what he said originally on Saturday to the New York Times. And like I said, he thought it was whatever military, but it clearly represents the far-right militia group known as the Three Percenters. If you don't know what the Three Percenters are, I will explain that to you right now. It's a white supremacist group. You guys may have seen them on TV back in 2017 because they were the ones that were the armed guys at the Charlottesville March where a young woman ended up dying. Yes, all the guys with the guns there were all part of this thing that he apparently had no idea existed. Now, Jackie had actually mentioned the other tattoos, so I want to throw up a picture of those tattoos right now. And in this moment, you guys can see, because originally what the only thing people were talking about is the tattoo that was on his, like, next, a little bit up from his elbow on his forearm right there that has the stars with the 3 lines from it. Now, that is an exact tattoo from the Three Percenters. The Liberty or Death tattoo is actually part of one of their sayings. That's something that they say all the time. That's part of, like, their whole little thing. And then he has another tattoo on him, which isn't necessarily shown in this actual picture, but it says, "Don't tread on me." And that is, if you go to their website, that is another one of their things that you said. So I could, not that I personally believe it, or neither would these two ladies that are on this show with me, but maybe some people might believe if you just had that one tattoo with the, stars and the 3 lines, that maybe you didn't know what it was. But you have 3 tattoos that are all represented on their website as their way of life and what they believe in. 3 of them. So you didn't know what the other 2 meant? Or you just like, it's just some coincidence that 2 other sayings or quotes that you have on your body are literally from that same 3%er group? I don't know. Sounds a little funny to me, right? Well, one of his teammates that he played with in college decided to come out and say something about it. Obviously, we were all talking about it this weekend. And is this guy a racist? Is he part of this white supremacist group? And one of his teammates, a guy named Devin Miller, we can throw up the tweet right now, actually responded to that and said, yes, his explanation, spent lots of time with him these past 2 years. Great teammate, ball guy. Listen, Devin, you don't want to go there, okay? We're not about to Michael Vick this situation, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, I will explain it to you right now. There was a guy that was a receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles a few years ago, and his name was Riley Cooper, and this guy was at a concert, a country concert, with a bunch of his friends, and there was a black security guard there. Riley Cooper on camera, on video, which we all got to see that video and hear it out of his mouth, called this black security guard the N-word with the ER at the end. Michael Vick then, along with some of the other black teammates on that team, because let's not forget, 70% of the league is black, so that includes the Philadelphia team too. Some of his teammates came out and said, he's a good guy, he's a good teammate, I don't think he's racist at all. Devin Miller, let's not join that group because that is not okay. It wasn't okay then. I remember literally after that season, a guy named Deshaun Jackson, you guys remember him, great wide receiver, the better wide receiver of the 2 guys on the team. Actually, he got cut from the team because he had known people who knew people that were part of a gang or something. So you're telling me the guy that's openly racist is okay to be on the team, but you're going to cut a guy because he knows people that know people that might not be good people. Well, that's very peculiar to me because I know some of you guys in this chat or whatever are going to argue, well, that's freedom of speech. He can say whatever he wants. But freedom of speech is not freedom of speech. It has limits to it. For instance, You're not allowed to use speech for force, fraud, or defamation, or anything that would potentially cause a riot. You don't think being racist could potentially cause a riot? You can't say or do anything you want just because the First Amendment says freedom of speech. It's not actually freedom of speech. When you're in a locker room with 70% of the guys in it being black and you're calling somebody the N-word with the ER at the end, that is not covered by freedom of speech. Yet he got to stay on the team. I get, Patriots. He's going to the Patriots, which is probably the best place he could have went because we all know last year and the year before, tons of NFL players came out and said Foxborough is the most racist stadium they've ever played in. Every time they go there, there's people yelling different profanities and stuff like that to a lot of the black players. That is a known thing. So I guess if he was going to play in the league, that's the best place for him to play. But I literally don't think any of us should listen to what this guy's saying. He knew exactly what he was doing. He's still racist. Black players, stop coming out and trying to defend this guy because he doesn't need to be supported in this situation. He is a racist guy. Do give this guy a pass. I don't care if he removes them. I don't care if he takes them off. That does not change the heart that he has. That does not change that in his heart he believes certain things. He also follows tons of white supremacists and nationalists, including that lady named Candace Owens, who literally was talking about victims that were shot in some of the school shootings and stuff like that, and saying that we need to get rid of everybody that's not white anyway, and blah, blah, blah. So, he follows these people. You can go to his social media, look at some of his old posts. I'm sure the organization for the Patriots has gone through now and tried to comb out some stuff that he had said in the past, but there's literally stuff that's still out there. It is very clear that this guy is still racist. My question to you guys is, should openly racist players be allowed to play in a league that is 70% African American? Do we give this guy a pass just because we'll let the guy play football? Or should players actually come up and step up and say, I don't feel comfortable being in a locker room with a guy who literally, if it was 50 years ago, would literally lynch me?
So, Devin, if you don't mind, can I jump on this one? So this problem is it's a big problem because I've said this before, I'm going to say it again, especially when you're talking about the African American players in the league. First of all, a lot of them come from nothing, right? They don't even come from HBCUs where they can actually get the education about their history to be a little bit more grounded. And they have this mindset of, let me not do anything because I don't want to mess up my money. They also have this mindset of, because we know what they drug Cam Newton. Cam Newton is one of the coolest, most nonchalant, calmest people in the league, but he says a few things that white people are offended by, and now all of a sudden he gets this bad boy image. So there's not a black person who's listening to this show right now who hasn't in some way heard their parents or their grandparents or whoever raised them say, if you're black, you have to work twice as hard to get half the credit. So when you are black in a league that everyone who runs it is old white people, even though you are the majority and you can stick together and say something that would probably affect change, you probably won't, because you don't want to be the black person that is scary to the white people. So you will say less. And then that's how you get people like Michael Vick co-signing on Riley being racist. That's how you get this CBS reporter who is an old black man who was old enough to have probably personally seen how the effects of racism can impact you, co-signing at the end of his story saying, I don't think he has a racist bone in his body. How do you even come to that conclusion? It's because as black people, we still have this fear of, if we say too much, if we call out the obvious, then we are going to be seen as angry. We are going to be seen as a threat, and we are going to be retaliated against. So while I do think that they should band together, every black person in the Patriots locker room to say, nah, bruh, you're not welcome here, and they should force the hand of the owners, I'm telling you it won't happen, because we haven't got that mentality yet that we are stronger together and our voices are powerful. We still haven't got that message.
You know what I find really interesting about this whole situation is we have a guy entering the NFL with these racist tattoos all over his body, and Colin Kaepernick still doesn't have a job. It's just the imbalance between this is just absolutely insane. And the one thing that I was thinking about when you were talking about all of this, Britt, and when you were filling us in, is it is bizarre to think about what will be happening in that locker room. I know that he has the support of Devin Miller, but I don't know that these other athletes, these other black athletes, are going to be okay with having a guy like that right next to them. And everybody hates the Patriots already, or they're not everybody, but it's a very polarizing team. So now to have this guy there, I just wonder what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Devin, of how people will feel in the locker room. How many times do we go into situations? I'll use Antonio Brown, for instance, when he was with when he was with the Steelers, when you go into those moments of like, well, he's impacting the locker room. You know, he's having issues with Big Ben or whatever the case is. So we need to get him out of here because it's toxic for our locker room. But then you're literally having a guy join the team off back before you even talk to him, know that is going to be toxic for that locker room, but you still bring that guy there anyway. That is a question that I know will never actually get answered for me, but it's so interesting to see because that is a lot of what we talk about when we talk about even with Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, like, oh, well, that's going to be bad for the locker room. We can't have that in the locker room. And that literally affects teams so much so, but then you go to this situation and they're literally just automatically knowing that the black players are not really going to say anything. And even if they do feel uncomfortable, they're not going to band together to say anything. So it's like, oh, we could actually put them in our locker room because we know these black players aren't going to end up telling us anything about it, you know? And I think that's very unfortunate that they're so comfortable doing that because they know or they assume that black players aren't going to come together and say anything or do anything about it. And it's really sad. Like, the guy sucks. It ends up sucking as a kicker. He was picked in the 5th round. Let's hope he sucks and he gets out of there anyway. But it's very unfortunate that to even put that on the players that you currently have, that shows the lack of respect that you have for the guys that are currently in your locker room. Because yes, their offense has like a ton of white guys on it, but that defense is ran by a lot of black guys, and they had the number 1 defense in the league this last year. So I would hate to see a moment, which we are seeing this moment, of your lack of respect for the players that have been there, the veterans that you've had that have won Super Bowls for you, in that locker room, knowing you're putting them in a position where they don't feel comfortable with the guy. And obviously some of them are going to come out and say something. A lot of them I think are just not going to say anything just because they don't have anything positive to say, so they're just not going to say anything at all. But we know how they're going to feel in their hearts, knowing that somebody like that, who literally is part of a group that is supporting white nationalism and white supremacy and stuff like that, is in their locker room. Like, that is not a comfortable feeling to have. If he was at a regular job, he would either have to make sure those were covered up or have that separate, or not even be able to work at that job because HR wouldn't want everybody else to feel in that situation. So it's very interesting. Obviously, I picked the Patriots, if you guys didn't watch the video yesterday, as one of the teams that I think had the worst drafts. So I don't think they're going to do anything this year anyway, and they don't deserve to have anything after this point especially, but it's really sad to see.
Yeah, and unfortunately... Go ahead, Devin. Unfortunately, the NFL's kind of set this... the NFL's kind of already set this precedent. And I agree with you, Britt, 100% that, the black guys that are in that locker room, they should speak up and say something, but they won't. The NFL set the precedent. We saw, Jerry Jones basically told his entire players, I don't care what you think or how you feel, you're not going to kneel during the national anthem. We saw Reed get how many random drug tests because he stood with Colin Kaepernick. Yep. The NFL has stood their ground, and they have let people, especially black players, know that keep your feelings to yourself because we're not going to support you. So it's unfortunate considering that we are the majority in the league, but I'm telling you guys, until we really learn how powerful we are in numbers, this is just going to be the norm.
You know what I could potentially see happening in the future, though, when they're actually playing? I can see more outspoken, angry, opposing athletes. It's a contact sport, so maybe we'll go after this guy harder. And I think that's absolutely something that could happen.
We've seen that in the past. We've seen offensive. He's a kicker.
He's a kicker, so
yeah. So that's what I'm gonna say. Like, it's tougher for them. But we've seen offensive lines not really care for their quarterback, and then the coverage, the protection for him is subpar. But he's a kicker. Mm-hmm. You can just be watching. Yeah. I mean, he's a kicker. There's not a whole lot. They'll get
maybe we'll see more penalties for roughing the kicker, but maybe it's going to still be a penalty against your own team. So you end up hurting your own team in that instance.
Exactly.
I didn't want to give this guy too much of my time, so I didn't even know what position he played.
Right, and I haven't even learned how to say his last name. It's Roc.
Who cares?
Raw.
Yeah, I almost was going to look it up, and I was like, he doesn't deserve it. I don't care.
Right. Yeah.
So annoying. We have a few minutes left. I've just been looking at some of these comments in here. We have Rodney, who does agree that he's a true racist. They're not going to do anything like Jackie and Britt said. Most people seem to feel the same way. Actually, this is a good question. Leroy says, why is the NBA so much better than the NFL with this kind of thing? So why do you guys think? Britt, can you start?
So there's a guy named Roger Goodell, who is the commissioner of the NFL, and there's a guy named Adam Silver, who is the commissioner of the NBA. That is the only difference. I don't think it's the lack that players would like to say something in the NFL or players have thoughts in the NFL, but because they've literally been punished so severely for, let's go Colin Kaepernick or Reed or whoever the case is, for actually expressing their thoughts or feelings about something, that is what has made the players shut up so much, because they're literally in a position to like, okay, if I open my mouth, I could not have a job tomorrow and I have a family to feed. So that's the choice that they end up having to make. But Adam Silver doesn't do that. Like, he let the whole team wear the I'm choking whatever t-shirts or whatever that LeBron James had brought out. And he lets players do that and express themselves. He is very open and a lot more liberal than obviously Roger Goodell is. So I think that's the case. Obviously, the NBA has not several, but a decent amount. I mean, even Usher owns the Cavs, and you have Michael Jordan, who's the owner of the Charlotte team. And so it's just like there's different levels. There's way more black coaches, obviously, in the NBA. Like, the NFL just, like, almost is – they had a moment where, like, they were starting to kind of, like, okay, we have more black coaches now. We have whatever. But now that is in reverse now, to where there's only 3 in the league now. And there's less, opportunities. And they're telling them to shut up more again and all this kind of stuff. So I think Roger Goodell is obviously the main reason why this happens. That the fact that there's nobody just in a leadership position in the NFL is why this happens. I don't think it's a lack of like players caring or wanting to say. I think it's the leadership that makes them feel like you're going to lose your job if you open your mouth. Kind of the side eye. They're always looking under, always standing behind, and that's the complete difference right there.
Yeah, I definitely think it's the leadership. And I'm not a big Roger Goodell fan, but I always hate some of the flack he gets because he's literally just a puppet. And he literally just does what the ownership wants him to do. But the ownership, except for the one, I believe the Carolina Panthers are owned by an Armenian or Arab guy, but everybody else is old white dudes. You know what I mean? So there's nobody to advocate for us. There's nobody to say, hold on, I feel this way, so maybe the players feel that way. And if you can't relate to people, or better still, if it doesn't even affect you, if you're an old white dude who's never been affected by racism, what do you care if you have a racist kicker? He's not, you know what I mean? It doesn't affect you. So right. When it doesn't affect you, people have a hard time saying, oh, not only is this wrong, but I think we should do something about it. The NBA has ownership, partial ownership by black people. And like Britt said, Adam Silver is just more open to hear. He's more open to listen. He's more open to say, even if he doesn't understand, he understands that he needs to try, and he empathizes. That does not exist in the NFL at all, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I would also like to add with the NFL, even the people that are telling the stories for NFL, there's 32 NFL teams. There is one black NFL sports reporter. That is a good friend of mine, Kiana Martin, who is the team reporter for the 49ers. All other 31 teams have a white girl as their team reporter. And I think there's one other team that has like, I don't know what race she is, but she's like maybe like Indian or something like that, or Persian or whatever the case. But all the other 30 teams have a white girl that's doing the reporting for them. So it's like because they might not understand, they're not telling certain stories that like, oh, this player is from this and he does this, and just because they don't understand, like in the league, again, the face of the league is literally just white people. It's white people here, but then it's just like the players are all black. So it's like literally Kiana became the team reporter a couple years ago. So before that, there was never she was the first black team reporter for any team in the NFL. It is 2020. It is 2020. The first black team reporter came, and then the pressure from
that. And that's the other thing. So
she's doing awesome too. She's killing it.
There's a certain amount of pressure that comes from being the first black anything, and then all of a sudden, I'm glad she's killing it, but there might be situations. Thankfully, she's not for the Patriots, because then now she'd be in a situation. Is this a story that you want to explore further? Do you want to ask the players, how do you really feel about this? Because now, since you're the only black journalist in the league, now you're fearful of, if I really explore this story and dig deeper and then challenge the powers that be, is my job in jeopardy? And it's that kind of thing that's always over your head that always makes people act differently, and it's always going to be a thing.
Yeah, and that even goes, I mean, Joey Bosa was picked for the 49ers last year, and he's had issues with, like, is he racist, and he's whatever, and he follows whatever, some people that are kind of racist and whatever, and retweeted stuff and stuff like that. So I'm sure she's had to deal with that at some point or not, even just during time there, which is unfortunate. You don't even want to be the person that has to do that and has to deal with that kind of situation for your job. Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
It's clear the NFL has a lot of room for improvement, and maybe they can actually start on the right track by doing something about this. But I guess we'll just have to see. I don't have a lot of faith, but we'll see in the future. But you guys, that's the show today. Chris fixed his technical difficulties, so he'll be back with us tomorrow. We're here to give you stuff. We enjoyed it just being the ladies today, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.